I think I'm going to start. Good morning to you who are joining from Europe, but good afternoon to the ones who are joining from Turkey, because it's past 2 past 1 in Turkey now. I'm happy to see so many of you joining, and I hope that there will be more even coming. And you all welcome to our webinar series from AQUACOSM-plus project, and it's the activity of work package 3, which is on networking and training for knowledge transfer. In here, we want to enhance the science communication and for a better communication of our research, it's somehow crucial to increase the cooperation and coordination and creating a big impact, especially nowadays we are living in a world that too many stuffs is happening around and too many papers, too many projects, and how to distinguish your science is a big challenge now. Another challenge is that we live in a world that everything has changed, that we cannot meet each other face to face and have excited ideas and get the message across. So in such world, we need to have new skills to develop. And video filming can be a fun way of doing this, getting our messages across. And so we decided to have develop such skill in our project. And we have a 3 weeks seminar series, the webinar series on video filming to communicate our science. And the first week will be this one, the theoretical. The second week is the next Friday at the same time on the video editing. And the third one will be the sort of the feedbacks, common mistakes, and so on, because each of us will be doing some homeworks. And our webinar presenter is Olcay Aydemir, whom I have been working for several years, that he produced excellent videos from our work. He's a videographer in Audio Visual Research and Production Center at Mehmet, and I'm very happy to work with him in this webinar as well, since he creates video contents for social media accounts of the university and produces videos for several purposes, from science communication to university promotion. And he produces excellent work, and I hope that we will have a fun 3 weeks to learn and develop such skill on video filming. Olcay, the floor is yours. And for the audience, the attendees, would you please use the chat box for general messages that you need to pass? And also we have a Q&A for the questions which we will receive from you and deal them at the end of the seminar. And please be aware that this seminar, the webinar is recorded and the videos will be uploaded to AQUACOSM-plus YouTube channel to make sort of disseminated to the wider audience. And now the floor is yours, Olcay.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this nice introduction at first. And let me share my screen, actually. Hi, I recorded again the first part of our video filming for science communication webinar. I guess there was some problems in the sound recorded. I decided to skip the introduction part and directly start from the video filming part of my presentation. The outline of this part consists of 4 pieces. We start with answering the question, is it easy, affordable, and time-consuming? Then we'll continue with the question, what makes a good video? And then we'll talk about what we have to do before filming and then during the filming. So the first question, is it easy, affordable, and time-consuming? Actually, it is neither very easy nor very difficult. I mean, it depends, but I can say that it's very fun. Planning, shooting, and editing requires some time and effort, but the time you need shortens when practiced. You don't notice the time if you start to enjoy making videos. And I can assure you that watching your own video and the interaction you get will be your motivation to make new ones, and you will create the time for making videos. And is it affordable? Yes, actually, you don't need too many equipments to make videos. Yes, of course, if you want to improve your equipment setup, there are millions of options, but as a basic requirement, you don't have to spend much. The first thing you need is a camera. I guess most of you have a good smartphone, and the smartphones really have good cameras, and it's really enough for making your research videos. Maybe some of you are interested in taking photographs, and maybe they own a DSLR camera. These cameras are actually designed for photography, but they have also good specifications for video. You can use this also for video. The next thing is the camera accessories. I suggest you using tripod. It is really important to take good stable shots. There are some optional equipments like stabilizers. It helps you take really good professional images. And you need some sound equipment. If you have some money to spend for video making, I suggest you buying a sound equipment. This is microphone, I mean, not sound recorder, because your mobile phones also can record sound, but a good microphone is needed for a good quality video. You have to use a computer for editing. As you all know, I prepared a detailed document about this equipment. I have already sent it to you. You can check this for your questions about the equipment. These are some sample videos to show you how a microphone changes the quality of the sound in the video.
What is mesocosm? Mesocosm is a kind of middle world from a laboratory. What is mesocosm? Mesocosm is a kind of middle world from a laboratory.
And here you see how stabilizer help filming moving object and people. So before going into detail on filming, let's start with some basic suggestions or general rules or aspects of making a good video. When we consider the internet audience, the duration of the video is really important nowadays. We can say in general, the shorter the better. Because the studies also have shown that the average video viewership drops off at around 60 seconds. And it's best to keep yours as short as possible. If the viewer knows that the video is long in the beginning, their attention will also drop off earlier. However, people who know that the video is short will stick with it and watch the whole thing. But of course, I also have to mention that the real duration of the video and the duration we feel may be different. Sometimes we can get bored in a 1 minute long video, but sometimes a 3-hour long movie don't feel like that long. So it depends also on its content and the style of the video. But as a general rule, most of the time a beginner's video includes some scenes that don't add much to the video or the story, and better they are removed. The second important thing is a powerful start. It's related with the previous one, actually, the duration. I mean, if your video is screened in theaters, you don't have to worry about the duration, and your audience have to sit and watch till the end. But on the internet, in a world where time is limited and our attention is pulled in every direction, you have to try hard to attract your audience. So you have to hook your viewers within the first 30 seconds, and keep them watching until the end. Once you have attracted your audience, then captured their attention, then you have a limited window in which to communicate your message. So I suggest putting some important or interesting part of your video closer to the opening scene. Don't forget that your video is competing with cat videos or funny waking up jokes videos and failed videos. So they are winking at your audience in the recommended videos list on the right on YouTube. So your audience can easily click away from your video. Another thing that I can suggest to you is keeping it specific and personal. The content is still the most important thing that attracts the audience. Your topic may not be the most popular and the attractive one, but you can still make your topic more interesting and simple or friendly for general audience. It's up to you. Make sure you say something relevant, interesting, and highly targeted. Maybe there are many points that you have to mention about your topic, but it's better to eliminate some parts for simplicity in the video. Don't bother your audience with too much technical details or too general facts that everybody already know. Speaking in a conversational tone could also establish a closer connection between you and your audience. There's a research article that I got across on the internet is about factors that affect channel and video popularity in science communication videos. It finds out that user-generated content was significantly more popular than the professional videos. This is good news for you. And furthermore, videos that had consistent science communicators were more popular than those without a regular communicator. This is another important point. So if you have a series of videos, it's better to use a regular presenter in your videos. People, I think most of the time, want to see some person in the face on the video. So I suggest you making your videos more informal or say something informal in it. So not to repeat what you write in the paper formally. Tell about what happened in the experiment, or how did you come up with this idea in the beginning and how it developed, or what was the obstacles, how you solved. It's better to include some story in it. I think this is a general rule that story always sells. It is not necessarily mean writing a script, a great narrative, like a film script. Just think it simple. Share details from your field trip. Start from how you go there, tell about the town you visited, or share funny details about your trip, and add some personal opinions, tell about some people in the trip, or create characters, for example, talk about your colleagues. You can explain your research project, for example, using analogies, metaphors. You can refer to popular culture, the mythology. You can put your topic in a historical context, for example, or an interesting story or incident about the topic from the history, or a slice from the life of a scientist who is the pioneer of the field, for example. Relate your audience to the topic. Tell why it's important to them, for example. And if possible, add some humor to your video. Humor always attracts the audience. Another point is using visuals. So always keep in mind that you're making a video. It has to be different than a written publication. As you all know, images are more powerful than words. And here you see a photograph of a bird with plastics in its stomach. And maybe before that, a lot of scientists try to warn people about danger, the plastic contamination and the water resources. But I think this photo was more successful than anything to attract many people's attention to this topic. So another important thing is the sound quality and music. So I strongly suggest that don't underestimate the importance of sound in the video. It is not a secondary issue. If sound quality is not good, then your video is totally rubbish. So when the sound is not hearable in your video, don't expect people exert themselves to hear what you say in the video. Unless you are making a statement about how you explored water in Mars, they will skip your video to watch some other videos. I suggest also using music. A good music or an appropriate music really elevates the mood of your video and attracts the audience. So these were some general suggestions to keep in mind. Now let's move on to filmmaking part. So what we have to do before filming? The first thing you have to think about is your target audience. Actually, it's very important because you will prepare your video for your intended audience. So you have to think about that. Who are your audience? Who will watch your video? The colleagues in the same field? Yes, it may be. Or a larger science community? Or non-scientists? Or are they science news consumers? Or in other words, scientifically literate audience? Or is it a video for children? You have to think about that. So it determines the length of your video, the style, the rhythm, the language, the jargon, everything actually. For example, if you want to speak to general audience, then you have to keep your video simple, clear, and easy to understand. For example, the person you make an interview should adjust his or her speech depending on the audience actually. Just the way they explain their research or work depending on the audience. For example, if you're making your video for the general audience, just refrain from using jargon, technical terms. If you have to use the technical term specific to your field, then you can introduce or give a definition of that word first. So similarly, before starting filming, you have to determine your main message, the theme. It's also important. Think what your video is about. Maybe you can try to find a title to your video. So all these are guides for you to check in every stage. When you're filming or editing, you have to think about, for example, for a specific sentence, you can ask, is this sentence consistent to my main message or theme? Or the music I choose or this editing style is consistent to my target audience or not. So this pre-study will prevent you get lost in the filming and editing in the later sessions. So a standard procedure in filmmaking actually starts with a script. Of course, this is not a fiction movie. You don't have to write a detailed script, but there is also an alternative for script for this kind of videos. An outline could be an alternative for this actually. Yes, outline is simply a one-page document that shows what's your plan about the video. It shows the main flow of the video, for example. You can just write how the film starts, how it continues, and how you plan to finish the video. For example, a simple outline could be like this. It starts with defining the problem, then it continues with why it is important, who are the people in the video and what they do, and what is different in their approach if this is a research video, if any, what are the findings. And you can also prepare a creative outline in which you also add some visual elements. If you can imagine something in your mind about the video, some special scenes, then you can write it down to your creative outline. It helps you in the shooting and editing sessions also. Here you see a sample shooting plan. Here the video maker decided to use voiceover, so it is possible to prepare the text before going to shooting. So there's a text prepared and the video starts with some sentences, and so while these words are being heard, what images will be on the screen at that time, and try to imagine how the film flows like. It really saves your time in editing and shooting. So what are other things to do before filming? For example, you can think about your style. You can maybe watch other videos for inspiration, watch some similar videos, what they do to attract their audiences. I suggest you thinking about this opening and closing scene. This is important part of your video actually. This opening scene is the part that attracts your audience to your video, and closing scene is important because it really determines the taste of your video at the end. If you decide to use voiceover in your video, so writing a text is a job to be done before filming. If you decide making voiceover, I can suggest you to keep in mind that the written language and the spoken language could be very different. try to write your text in a spoken language. Both voiceovers in interviews has own advantages, but voiceovers are preferable for the reason that it prevents you from dealing with filler sounds and words. You talk in a well-organized way and you have time for thinking the sentence that best expresses your idea. And if you are going to use interviews in your films, preparing questions is an important job to be done before filming. And the last thing before going to shooting is the production plan. You have to decide where and when are you going to shoot. Are you going to shoot outside or inside? How many crew you need? Which equipment needed? Are they charged? Are they ready? If it's an interview, did you make the appointment? Did you think about transportation? If it's an interview, so did you study the question, the topic? If you make these controls before going to shooting, it's less likely to come up with a surprise or a problem in the filming. Yes, the next section is about how to take a good picture. There is 3 important components that we have to consider: the composition, lighting, and camera movements. So I will talk about some very basic rule of thumbs, and of course there are a lot of other things to learn if you want to improve yourself. What we are going to say in composition and lighting part is also valid for photography. The camera movements part is specific to motion picture, of course. The first rule is the rule of thirds. This is a classic photography rule that seeks to make a subject more interesting by putting them slightly to the side of the image rather than the dead center. So we divide the whole frame into 3 parts, vertically and horizontally, and the rule says that it is better to place your subject either this vertical line or this vertical line, instead placing it to the center. Of course you can place your subject to the center and create a symmetrical frame. This is also an option. The rule of thirds rule says that this makes your subject more attractive or interesting. Another basic rule is to leave a space above the head of your subject. So in the left picture there is no headroom, and see how weird it looks, and see in the second picture the difference. But also similarly, leaving too much room above the head is also not okay. There should be a good ratio between the subject and the space above its head. Similarly, it is expected to leave a larger space in the looking direction of your subject than the space behind the subject. So this is called look room, and it is also valid for all moving objects, even if they are not moving at that moment. So when framing a person, you don't always include the whole body of your subject, the person. You sometimes decide to cut from some point. So this is called shot levels. Here you see the first is a medium shot, and the second is a medium close-up, and here you see the third one is a close-up. And maybe here you can say that there is no headroom in this photograph. So as I said, these are some conventional rules, and you can always break these rules for aesthetic reasons and for other reasons, I don't know, that you can justify. But if you want to do so, if you want to break this headroom rule, cutting from the head is okay, but in this case, cutting from the chin is not suggested actually. So when you're, for example, interviewing a person, you have to decide where to place your speaker. I suggest not placing your object in front of a wall, for example. Instead, try to create a depth behind with your subject. Also avoid using distracting backgrounds. Just keep in mind that you can change the places of the objects and design the background for better composition. Here you can see some examples. In the first one, you see there is no headroom and there is a table with lots of items on it. It's distracting and there is no depth behind subjects. In the second one also, the subject is placed just in front of the wall and there is no depth behind. I think these two are better backgrounds with depth. Lighting is another thing that you have to think about. So in ideal case, an object or the person speaking in an interview is lighted from 3 points. Here you see a key light from its left and another fill light from its right and a backlight to separate it from the background. So this is the ideal case. Don't worry, you don't have to follow this. You can say that I don't have lighting equipment for this 3-point lighting. Yes, you're right. But we can apply this rule in an alternative way in our shootings, in our beginner shootings. So in this picture you see you need a key light and a fill light from two sides of the subject. So key light is your main light, the main source of light. You need a second light to fill the shadows that created by this key light. So you don't need professional lighting. You can use the natural light, I mean sunlight. For example, you can use the sunlight from the window as a main key light for your subject. Just place your subject in a position that receives sunlight from one side, and this is your main light. And use a reflector from opposite side. This reflector could be any bright reflective surface you can find at home. See in the picture how a simple reflector illuminates the shadows created by the key light on the face. So if you are working with daylight, just be careful because the amount of daylight coming to your subject may change a lot when it is partly cloudy, so be careful about that. And in lighting, try to avoid having only one light directly above the person's head, and this will create big shadows under their eyes. Most importantly, try to get some light into the eyes. If you can't see the subject's eyes, then it will make it harder for the viewer to engage with what is being said. So it's always better to have more than one source of light, at least two. One other thing that you have to care about in lighting is windows. I suggest not positioning your subject in front of a window because I guess you all experienced it when you try to shoot some photographs. Maybe you want to show the view outside the window and at the same time a person, but this is a very difficult task for our cameras. There are some cameras that is capable of taking this kind of photograph, but most of the average or beginner cameras or your mobile phones are not capable of taking the clear image of the subject inside and the view outside the window. As you see in the picture, if you want to make your subject's face visible, then the outside becomes very highlighted, and if you want to see the tree outside, then your subject is very dark. So you have to also decide in which frame rate you are going to shoot. What is frame rate? Frame rate is the number of frames recorded per second in your camera. What does it mean actually? If you watch something recorded at 18 frames per second, then your brain can process the frames as a fluid animation. But If it is less than 18, your brain begins to differentiate the individual frames and they no longer look like a video. So 18 is the limit, but 24 FPS is the worldwide standard frame rate for motion picture projection. Most of the movies you see in the theater are all 24 FPS. So why there are some other frame rates? Some are related to some different regional standards. For example, 25 is for European PAL standard, and 30 is a standard for USA TV screenings. So 25p is ideal for static shots, but if you need to shoot some action clearly, then you have to use at least 50 frame per second. If you want to use a slow motion effect, you have to record your video in 120 FPS or more. You have to keep in mind that high frame rate not always a good thing, because high frame rate means large files and longer export times. Also, videos with higher frame rates may look unnatural. So if you want your video looks film-like, then you better record it at lower frame rates. So resolution, HD resolution is enough for almost all purposes. And the camera movements. The first thing I want to say is just don't move your camera unless you have the proper gear, for example tripod. Prefer static shots if you don't have a tripod. Don't use your camera as it is your eyes. This is what we see very often in beginner video making. They change their position of their cameras too quickly. Actually, your eyes can capture what you see, understand what there is at the very first moment when you turn your eyes to some point, but it is not the case with the camera. This is not valid for an audience watching something on the screen. So just I suggest you, when you just position your camera to some point, take minimum 5 seconds of stable shots before changing your position. Pan is a horizontal move and tilt is a vertical move of the camera. So don't make long pans and tilts. It's difficult to use in editing. Of course, there are some cases that you can use this kind of shooting, but in most of the cases it is non-usable. Before moving your camera, decide what to shoot and how you move before recording. So make a rehearsal, I mean. Of course, there are a lot of other things to consider while taking a picture, but it's very difficult to include all these things in this short beginner session. You can find a lot of camera tutorials on the internet, but here I want to continue with some experience-based suggestions that are, I think, more valuable for you. So let's go on with some tips that could be useful when making your research video. So what's the B-roll shot? It can be defined as the shot other than dialogue and the speech. I suggest a few tips about this B-roll shots. The first tip is shoot the same action twice if possible. Once in a close shot and second time in a wider shot, for example. It will be really useful for you in editing. And always change your position. Try to find different points of views to the object. Don't stay fixed from a certain point of view. Try to get images that will match with your interview. Note what the speaker talked about and shoot something related to what he or she said. So the interview part. For an interview, ideal crew number is 3, actually. The interviewer, the camera operator, and the sound operator. But of course, you cannot find always 3 person for shooting. Then a camera operator could be the interviewer at the same time, or the sound operator. There are different interview types, actually. The most popular one is the headshot interview, and there is walk and talk interviews, follow interviews, and vox pop interviews. But if you don't have stabilizer, classical headshot interview is the best choice, I guess. What to do before interview? Before interview, you have to study your lesson, actually. The questions, the topic, the interview type, you have to decide them. You have to warn your speaker before coming about the clothes, and clothes with small patterns create some problems with the camera. And you have to arrive early and scout the location and prepare the equipment before your speaker comes. So I suggest briefing the person about your video, for example, the target audience of your video, the purpose of your video, the duration, the concept. And you have to inform the person about where to look, for example, to the camera or the interviewer, or how to speak loud or slow, and what she has to do when confused or misspelled, for example. Pre-interviews, normally a rehearsal sounds good, but it's not the best option all the time, because often the first answer or the first take is the most natural talk, because your subject tells you what her research is to a person that really does not know anything about that. But if you pre-interview, then it means you know the topic, and she tries to change the way she tells and not to repeat what she said before in the pre-interview. Sometimes it works. If you pre-interview, they organize what to say in the interview in their minds, but I don't know, it's not useful all the time. And what to do during the interview? So you have to be very active during the interview in order to take what you need for your video. Here are some tips for the interview. If you follow these tips, it will be really time saving for you in the editing. Warn your speaker to start 2 seconds after your question and stay fixed after her speech ends. You need that 2 seconds silence in editing. So make your speaker feel comfortable and try to motivate all the time. Don't hesitate to warn your speaker when he is tired and start to speak in lower tones or lost in details, or speak out of topic if she's using too many technical words and this is a video for general audience. But of course, do not interrupt her speech too frequently. You can maybe do these warnings in between 2 questions or pauses. Don't ask yes/no questions, and warn your speaker not to refer to your questions or his or her previous speech. For example, as I said before, or when you ask something or some yes/no questions, yes, this is true, is not a good answer. It's better to change framing time to time to make it more interesting, and you can change the framing also for considering your speaker also. If you think gestures support the speech, for example, you can frame wider. For example, personal experience and emotions better conducted in close-ups, and facts better at wider shots. It's better to record each question in a separate shot, and if sound and video recorded separately, use claps and say the name or the number of the shot at the beginning. And always listen carefully what your subject says and follow what she says and also how she says. And stop and ask for a rephrase whenever you think that she told it too complicated, too technical, or with too long sentences. You can also suggest a rephrase. Try not to talk over your subject's answers and try hard to get what you need. What is the sound tips for the interview? First, find a quiet room for the interview, but an empty room will make echoes, so consider these. Open the microphone and wear your headphones and listen if there is some background noise coming from outside or inside. If there are devices, fans working, turn off them if possible. Close all the doors and windows. If you have a lavalier microphone, attach it to the speaker and be sure it doesn't touch anything to the clothes or something. And make a sound check before. Stop the shooting if there is a problem in sound. Don't wait until she finishes her speech.
That's probably the most salient feature of our research. Was it good? That's probably the most salient feature of our research. Was it good?
There are some questions regarding I need to direct to them, to you. Catherine, she says that when you talk about stabilizers, do you refer to algorithms with a camera or actual physical add-on devices? Is it a device?
Actually, this is also an algorithm and also a device. Some cameras or some mobile phones have some stabilizers inside. It's an algorithm. Optical image stabilizers is called OIS. You can see this word, this short form. There are some cameras have this specification, but actually I was talking about these physical ones.
Okay, good.
This is really useful if you get it.
Okay. Jens asked that is there economical and not too difficult to use options to limit background sounds and noise that is typical for a bad sound? Maybe you could come up with some list to answer this. Yeah,
Yes, actually, I'll put some.
Okay, that would be good because we
cheap
may all. I mean, this AQUACOSM-plus within this project, maybe we may all get some minimum gears to do our shootings because we need this. It seems to be in the COVID world. So the list will be handy here. And what sources for sounds are possible to use, freely available or through licensing? I guess this means the music, I guess. That's what I understood, yeah?
Yeah, for sounds and music and also images, you'll need actually images when you are editing we say stock images, stock videos. There are some internet sites offering some free stock videos and sounds, musics also. I can give some examples of them. Maybe I can add a list of.
Okay, that would be good.
You can find some.
Okay.
Because it's expensive actually. They are selling the stock videos, but really expensive. But there are some. You have to dig internet to find some free ones.
Okay, that's good. This is going to continue next week and a week after, as you all know. And the next week will be on editing. But for the next week, we have a homework. We all supposed to go out this weekend or maybe during the week time to do some shooting. But now you've given us so much information that actually I'm scared to do it now. It looks too complicated. But can you share the homework now as a last closing remark to go over what we need to do together with the audience? You know, it will be helpful.
Okay.
Can you share it now? Or I can do it as well. I have the.
Yes, I have.
Because
This.
I have already shared the content of the homework.
Yes, I see.
And people can read it, but maybe it's best that what you are specifically sort of directing us. And also Jens asked for the slides. I think it's needed also slides, you know, the presentation. If I will share, you share the presentation with me and I will share the presentation with the group. Yeah, okay.
Okay, I can do that. And the homework.
Have you found it? Can I do it?
Yes, I found the homework.
Can you share it with us and we can, yes.
Yes. For the first homework, actually, I suggest you create a team of 3 or 4 people. This is an interview homework, actually, and as I said, for an interview, it's best at least have a team of 3. Maybe you can start with arranging a meeting for brainstorming, for example, finding a topic for your film, and it may be your ongoing project, the experiment that you are doing for this AQUACOSM project. This is I think the natural one, because you're into it and you know it. The person that you know the project, and maybe it's a finished project if you don't have an experiment now going on, but you can make a film of your finished project. It doesn't matter, or introduction of your lab. So after finding your topic, deciding on your topic, you'll prepare yourself to an interview. For example, start with a simple outline of your imaginary video. Actually, you don't shoot all the things in your video, but maybe you can think of a starting scene, a beginning scene, and think about a person to interview, for example, your team leader or another person about the project, and prepare the questions for taking good answers. And then assign roles to each other. For example, 1 interviewer, 1 camera, and 1 sound. This is important to share.
Here, Olcay, we don't have, like, I don't have a sound gear now. I mean, what I will do, I mean, I only have like a camera, or maybe some of us don't even have the professional camera. No, this is the next step, maybe. I mean, we all planning to do something in AQUACOSM-plus to get some good gears to do it. But currently, for this weekend, how shall I do it? Maybe a bit simpler.
Then this your task is to find a really silent place to make this, and you can close the doors and close the, for example, devices in the, for example, if it's a lab, you can close the devices if it's possible, because background noises really distracts the speech. You can do whatever, how much you can for this time, but maybe you can just the interview, the image is more important this time, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
So you all have the camera, I think, the mobile phones, and making an interview will be a good exercise, I think. Interview making is a different task, I think, and you have to learn it. Trying to do that will teach you lots of things.
Okay.
And then if possible, you can collect some B-roll footage. As I said, this is footage other than speech. You have the interview, but in the editing session, we'll talk about that. The interviewer will start to speak. We'll see his face at first, but then we don't see him, we will see some other images that he's talking about. So what your interviewee is the speaker talking about, you have to collect some images matching what she is talking about. For example, if she is talking about your team,
Okay, so we will,
shoot some.
okay, so you mean that we will have the interview? Sorry, we will have the interview, but also extra, we will shoot some like laboratory settings or the mesocosm settings or the lake,
Yes.
whatever it is. Okay, as a
Yes.
B-roll footage. Then,
You can also collect some previously shot images.
okay.
It would be the best ones, but we need something to edit.
Okay.
Materials
Then-
to edit. Then I think you have to you should think about the music for your video. I think this is just for demonstration. Maybe you can find some copyrighted music. I don't know. No, it won't be a
But
problem.
you will send us the list for this. Okay.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
will check
maybe you
through.
can find
Okay.
it. Then I want you to download and install DaVinci Resolve. This is a free editing software. If you can download before coming, then you can maybe follow me while I was doing something on the editing software.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And the next week at the same time, please come back with this DaVinci Resolve downloaded, and the session will be on the editing because Olcay will use some of earlier his shootings and he will show us how to edit. You know, he will have both the interview and the B footage that just explained to us, B-roll footage, and he will try to mix them together to make a nice video. Okay, I think we have to finish because it's been already 35 minutes late.
I'm sorry for that. I couldn't manage the time. I'm sorry for.
Okay, there is one more question. I think it's important. A question with a homework. I tried to download and install the DaVinci Resolve editing software, but it needs registration number. But to have that, you need to buy the product. Am I looking at the wrong software, or is there a free version somewhere?
Yes, I think it has a more professional edition that you can buy, but there is a free version of that.
Okay. Also, can you add this web address of the free version of it onto the list that you are going to send us?
Okay.
And at latest this weekend, we will send you all what you needed, maybe even tonight, okay? And as soon as I get from Olcay the presentation and the list of the things that we can do, we need it immediately, I will post to them, okay? Okay, so thank you very much, everybody, for joining, and hope to have a nice weekend and good shooting, and see you next week. Yeah, bye-bye.